This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
Oh, hello.
Well, let's get back to it.
William Ragg admits to Westminster honey trap plot role and said he's been manipulated.
Disgusting.
Oh, that's a little bit too much information. Nobody needs to know that. Keep it to yourself. I mean, isn't that whole story totally amazing?
No.
Aren't you completely stunned?
No.
This weekend, the UK is to be hit by 2 storms in consecutive days, and airlines warned that British families could face flight delays, and the National Rail cautioned that trains could be disrupted. And the RAC said that conditions would be extremely challenging for drivers in some areas, so there will be disruptions for travellers by air, rail and road. None of that's got anything to do with the storms. It's just always like that. Storm Olivia struck the UK today before Storm Kathleen sweeps in tomorrow morning with unseasonably windy weather.
Oh, no.
And because of the treacherous conditions, RAC breakdown spokesmodel Rod said drivers should speed up and crank their stereos up so high that the buildings vibrate as they drive by, and always put your fog lights on because that makes you look cool when you're undertaking on a roundabout. Of course, if you're in an Audi, you will already be doing this.
Thank you.
The Met Office warned of travel delays and a chance of injuries and danger to life. The Environment Agency broadcast 156 flood alerts and 15 flood warnings.
Warning, warning.
We're going to need a bigger boat. Heavy rain overnight was replaced by showers today, but it will all kick off tomorrow. And in Scotland, there's a yellow warning for snow. Snow?
Oh, no.
And there could be snow accumulations of 10 centimetres in places. And I will translate European surrender centimetres into His Majesty's imperial measurements. It's perfectly easy. An idiot could do it. So to get from 10 centimetres to feet, you simply double it and add 32. So this is a piece of cake. Double 10 is 20, and 20 plus 32 is 62. Blimey, there's going to be 62 feet of snow in Scotland. Can you believe that?
No.
Tomorrow, as Storm Kathleen blows in, almost the entire west coast of England and Scotland and all of Northern Ireland are going to be hit by strong wind. So that's tomorrow. And 21 degrees. Blimey. Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, this is the middle 2 weeks of April. Unsettled with rain and showers in western and northwestern parts of the UK. Rain could be heavy and prolonged at times. Yeah, in the northwestern parts, I bet. I mean, I could check on that while you wait, but really, what is the point? I know what the weather's going to be like in Glasgow. Well, let's see now. It's, yes, it's raining at the moment. Don't tell me it isn't, because it is. It'll be raining tomorrow, and raining on Sunday, and raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and raining on Thursday, and raining on Friday. But then, on Saturday, it will also be raining. And on the Sunday, and on Monday the 15th, and on the Tuesday, and the Wednesday, and the Thursday. Basically every day for the rest of your lives. So that's middle 2 weeks of April. That, in the northwest, continually raining. Meanwhile, southern and eastern areas are likely to have some decent drier spells of weather with some sunshine at times. You remember sunshine, don't you?
No.
OK, now the last week of April, the first week of May. Blimey, it's May already. It's practically Jesus' birthday. Last week of April, first week of May. More rain and showers are likely at times, but there is a reasonable chance of some drier and sunnier spells of weather, with temperatures most likely near or a little above normal for the period as a whole. There's a reasonable chance of some drier and sunnier spells of weather, with temperatures most likely near or a little above normal for the period as a whole. We'll take it. Lawrence says, did you see that Brexit voting farmers have been protesting in London about the consequences of Brexit? You reap what you sow, says Lawrence. Yeah, how's that whole Brexit thing working out for you?
Oh, fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah. Paul, and I thought we were going to get cheaper food, clothing and footwear.
You could have cheaper food, clothing and footwear straight
away. Yeah. Why does anybody still listen to that man? Has he been right on anything his entire life?
No.
Paul says, with war in Europe a scary possibility. I'm getting tired of reading that. It's almost like the weapons manufacturers are trying to get us petrified so that we will insist that our government spends more on bullets. They have enough money already. Stop scaring us to death. It ain't World War III. Hang on, I'm going to cough. That's better. With war in Europe a scary possibility, says Paul, I was reassured to read this week that the RAF's drones don't work in bad weather. That one of our aircraft carriers has spent more time in dock than at sea due to repairs, and that our army is so small it wouldn't even fill Wembley Stadium. Those Tories put that £2.5 trillion to good use. Apparently Labour would be worse, though. Yeah, we've got to stick to the plan.
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one.
Yeah, can we go back to square one? Can we do that straight away? Like, with great haste, as in right now. Please, pretty please with sugar on top. I'm begging you. Darryl says, even Germany, who famously started 2 World Wars... Famously. I didn't hear about that. You'd think it had been on the news. They famously started 2 world wars? I'm not sure that's true, Darryl. I'm going to look that up later. Even Germany, who famously started 2 world wars, have given up on the war on drugs, says Darryl. When, oh when, will the UK see the light and legalise cannabis? Asking for a friend. Hey, Darryl.
Want to score some pot?
Yeah, he's just asking for a friend. Never. Can I pencil you in for never? We're never going to do that. We will sit here with our fingers in our ears, humming loudly to ourselves in case we actually take on board some evidence. Evidence that I do believe that Canada is still there. Most of America is still there. Australia is still there. France is still there. Spain and Portugal, all still there. All doing better than we are. As far as the HAPPY-ness of the population is concerned. And what else is there? Don't talk to me about GDP. A higher GDP rate does not make you happier. Nobody sits on their deathbed ruining the fact that GDP didn't go up by 0.1% more than it did when they were alive, do they? No, you wish that you'd been happier, that you'd done happier things with your life. So we're concentrating on the wrong things. Hey, sheeple, wake up. Later than you think. Adam says, did you see footage of Tichy Sutsars playing cricket and getting bowled out by a child? I guess it's hard when the stumps are twice your height. Yeah, he laughed about it. Yeah, he was crying inside. Everything that he does looks awkward and wrong. I mean, he seems completely incapable of acting like a human being.
Affirmative.
I mean, it's just somebody should. I don't know. Can we turn him off and on again? Maybe that would work. Let's give it a go. Archie says, have you noticed more and more earthquakes happening on the planet? I don't remember it being like this, says Archie. Well, what are you suggesting, Archie? Because it could be down to a wide variety of things. It could be that we're all jumping up and down at the same time. Like if the entire world did the disco dancing at the same time, it would probably cause some sort of tremor. It would be my guess. But it could be global warming, except it isn't, because any fool know that global warming is a Chinese hoax to make Donald Trump use less hairspray.
You don't need to put all of that product in your hair. You just don't.
You just don't. But it could be, I don't know, it could be God's displeasure about rainbow flags, perhaps. I think it's probably that, isn't it? Oh, blimey, flags. I'm up to my eyeballs in flags. I'll take a couple of calls and then I have full details. Don't you worry about that. Aberdeen. Hello, Daniel.
Hi, Nick.
Daniel.
I'd like to talk about this new wave of flag-waving Tories.
Yes.
Well, it seems like they're trying to nail flags to a sinking ship.
It looks to me more like they're trying to plant a flag in a giant steaming pile of sewage.
Well, you might say that. It's not so bad in Scotland because we didn't privatise our water.
All right. Well, that's more fool you then. I mean, who's going to make all that money if you don't privatise water?
Well, the workers.
The workers? Yeah, probably not, no.
Well, I was exaggerating a little. It's Friday night.
Yeah.
But I guess seriously, maybe.
Is there something wrong with you, Daniel?
No, I
Get
was
it
just
out.
I was choosing my words carefully.
Okay.
Because, I didn't want to swear. I just wonder what the game is. Are they trying to appeal to a sort of new flavour of patriots? Or is it the sort of final stab at winning?
It's a desperate flailing around because absolutely nothing else is working for them. So they think, well, what have we got? The flag, patriotism. Let's see if that works, and we'll try to out-patriot other parties. Ain't that right, Nige?
I'm a nutcase.
Yeah. All right. Leave it with me, Daniel. I'll fill in the blanks. Thanks a lot, mate. Keith texts, what are the bets that after it raining for 6 months, it'll probably not rain at all for the next 6 months and everything will start drying in the next couple of months? Well, I've got no idea, but in the next 4 weeks, I don't think we have anything to worry about. It's going to be raining and raining and raining and raining and raining again. When will it ever stop? John says, be happy. Before any war happens, the ultimate crisis, the climate crisis will get us, which could be the ultimate crisis. Yeah. It's this thing that's bowling towards us at great speed, like a tsunami wave of catastrophe that, and we're busy just rearranging the deck chairs on the beach to make sure that we get a good view of it. Incoming. And Tom says, I saw Jeremy Hunt on the TV earlier, and judging by his somewhat startled expression, I can only assume he inadvertently sat in a red-hot poker. He always looks very... he looks as surprised as an old Hollywood actress. You know, one of those 60-year-old actresses that have as many lines on their face as a baby? Those ones? Has he had work done? Why does anybody look that surprised if he hasn't had his face pulled taut? Maybe he's 160 years old. Looks great. By which I mean his looks great.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Now, wait a minute. I don't like that kind of talk. Now, just stop it. It upsets me.
And on that subject, Mike says, why do you think it's okay to ridicule a physical trait someone has? Would you do it for skin colour, hair, waist size, disability? No. So why short people? Every time you call Rishi Sunak by that dreadful nickname and allow others to also make jokes, you show the shallow nature of your liberal pretense. It is something you have in common with many LBC presenters, says Mike, or as is written on my screen, MKE, MK. If that is indeed your name, MK. Are you kidding me? He has taken absolutely everything that we have in this country. We used to have the world's #1 rated National Health Service. Now, having paid for it for the last 14 years, through the nose, we have a health service that isn't the envy of anybody. He's taken all of our money and sprayed it around his mates and donors, and while grinding our faces into the dirt with his stacked heel shoes. And you want to take our ability to make fun of him away as well? What else will we have? What kind of a Nazi country do you want us to live in, McCur? If that is indeed your name. 0345 6060 973. John texts, it is currently not raining in Glasgow. Swiftly followed by, oh, my mistake, it is now. It is now, yeah. See? Winchester in Hampshire. Hello, Simon.
Hello, Nick. You all right?
Yeah, good, thanks.
These right-wingers, what do they want?
Everything.
I mean, I'm just referring to that last texter of yours.
They want everything, and if they don't get everything, they throw all of their toys out of the pram at once.
Yeah, but don't they understand that by having liberal values, where everybody wants everything for everyone, they get everything? I don't know. They just wind me right up.
Yes.
Talking of being wound up, this is why I've called, right? So this is your fault, because you mentioned about the World War III.
Yeah, forthcoming attractions.
Yeah. Now, I've got 3 points to make on that.
A couple of 3 points.
Now, I'm a very scared person.
Scared?
When it comes to things like that.
Right.
Yeah, when it comes to the prospect of things like that.
Right.
But the way I deal with it is I research and look into things. I'm not saying that I've got.
Research.
I'm not saying I've got the answers at all, but this is how I see it. Right.
Right.
Right. World War I and World War II are obviously what you think about when you hear World War III. You think back to what happened back in 1 and 2. This is a completely different world, full of communication and information, and people that live for their toys.
Toys?
And their stuff, their things, their gardens, their computers, their cars.
Yes.
People won't have an appetite to fight, and
they won't need to. All fighting will be done automatically.
Affirmative.
It's going to be robot war.
Affirmative.
Well, that's fine. Let the robots fight. And,
Yeah, but once the robots have killed each other, then the surviving robots will start to kill us.
Warning.
warning. Yeah, it's like Paul. We'll blame that on Fishy as well, shall we?
Yes.
But you think about these images you see of teenagers in trenches and covered in mud and all that. That just won't happen now.
Yeah, it will.
But the thing is,
it will.
There,
It is happening at this moment. What are you talking about?
No, it is happening in Ukraine. I understand that, but I mean, back then it was a case of pick a side and go and fight. And young people,
not really
were patriotic.
I don't think people got to pick a side. I think they were born into a side, by and large.
Yeah. But at the beginning, I mean, I think a lot of them were just bored. They wanted to go and show their patriotism, go and stick one to the man.
Yes.
Thinking it would be going off with their mates.
Be a jolly. Yeah, exactly right. They signed up when they were 15 years old because they thought it might be exciting, and they were disabused of that notion pretty much straight away.
The other thing is, we keep getting these phone-ins about these
yes,
generals and politicians keeping saying that we have to prepare for war.
Yeah.
Right. So, first of all, what is the difference between a post-war period and a pre-war period? They are exactly the same thing.
Yes.
It just means that you're not currently in a war.
At war, yeah.
Right? But it sounds so cynical and frightening and sinister.
Well, it makes it sound as though they know what they're talking about, which they don't, because they're trying to predict the future.
And if you think back, like, if you go back 2 years, by now, China was going to be fighting Taiwan.
Yeah.
And with the Israel war as well, that was going to spark a regional war. Mm-hmm. It's not happening. Nobody's got any appetite for it.
Well, I don't think it requires a lot of people to have an appetite. It just requires one person to make it happen, and that's the history of the human race. All it needs is one person to make it happen.
But it could have happened by now. And this brings me to my final point.
Oh,
right?
At last.
Right. Right. Okay. So I would not be against NATO, so that it can't be singled down to one particular country, an alliance, right, going into Ukraine, pushing Russia out, not attacking Russia,
just
crossing Russia's borders.
Just giving them a shove,
push them out,
friendly push,
and say, enough, no more.
Yeah.
That's it, job done.
Right, well...
You would be mad
to
retaliate.
The next Foreign Secretary is we found him already. Can you start on Monday? First thing Monday morning, Simon.
Not if I have to be Tory.
Well, okay, we'll pencil you in for the end of the year at some point. Maybe December. Okay, 1st of December. You're on the payroll. Good work, that man. So he's sorted out World War III. World War IV now is... over to you, Simon. Man with the many ideas. Mike texts, if the moon is to have its own time zone, will it have fireworks on New Year's Eve? If the moon is to have its own time zone, will it have fireworks on New Year's Eve? What on earth does that mean?
So America is suggesting that maybe the moon should have their own time zone, and this man is saying if they are to have their own time zone on the moon, when would that come in terms of the New Year's, and would they have fireworks? He's not very
Why would they... Why does the moon need its own time zone?
I don't know. Probably wokeness? I'm not sure.
Oh, wokeness. Well, you should have said woke. Lefties were probably involved. Caroline says, don't mind rain in the afternoon, but these rainy mornings are so gloomy. Now, not that I'm complaining or anything, says Caroline. Oh, I see. This is you not complaining, is it? And Sue says, when Labour gets into government, how will you keep your show funny and not boring? Starmer just doesn't make me laugh, says Sue. I wouldn't worry about that, Sue. I'm sure there'll be just plenty to laugh at. Their inability, the Labour Party's inability to distance themselves from the Conservative Party on any major issue being one of them, for a start. But I have detailed files about that whole flag thing. And the new Conservative Party advert. God, they're so bad at this. I mean, it's almost as though... it's almost as though their own PR department is working for the Labour Party. If I were you, Titchy, I would fire absolutely everybody around you. In fact, no, cancel that. They're doing a tremendous job. Keep them in place. Johnny says, part of the Tory common sense group seems to have enjoyed, in inverted commas, some direct access through a private WhatsApp group to complete strangers. Perhaps LBC should... you know what? I'm going to read the rest of this without saying it out loud, just to make sure. Perhaps LBC should... no. I mean, it's not rude and it's not funny. It's just not interesting. Sorry about that. Boring. I just completely wasted your time. Mohammed says, I'm a short person, just 5'4". Please rip into shreds anyone that's pretending to be a giant. I mean, there's just so many other things that you can make fun of with titchy suit size, but it's just the thing that lends itself to comedy. Everything else about him lends itself to misery. I mean, there is his whining voice, of course. Would that be considered off limits too? Because you wouldn't want to be rude to the whiny voice community?
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Right, so what we doing?
Given we're doing a radio show, but it does remind me that I do a podcast with Carol McGiffin.
Oh, right, yeah.
Comes out twice a week now. It's called What's Your Problem with Nick and Carol, in which the delightful Carol McGiffin and I try to solve people's problems while laughing our faces off. Now, if you have a dilemma that you wish us to solve, then you must send it to the following address, nickandcarol@global.com, NICKANDCAROL @global.com, but prepare to be totally satisfied.
Oh, right, yeah.
Ask for it by name on an internet near you. What's your problem with Nick and Carol? Merthyr Tydfil. Jeff.
Hi, Nick. How
yes,
are you?
Jeff. Good, thanks.
Right, well, I'm confused, bewildered, and furious, but I haven't been drinking. Before you say it, I haven't been drinking.
This is your brain now. Yes.
I don't know how true it is, but I have ascertained that Wes Streeting, the future Labour Party Health Secretary,
yes,
has made a few statements to his constituency Labour Party, as far as I can tell from the media. Don't know how true it is. You can never trust it, can you?
No.
But he has said, and I quote, that free prescriptions will be stopped in Wales and Scotland with a Labour government. I am a bit confused. And I wondered if you had any information on this, because the Labour Party are not making anything or saying anything to frighten the horses.
Yes.
And let's face reality here. Whatever we say to each other here is not going to change anything. Okay? But they have said, and I quote, that they're going to stop prescription. Well, the first point there is that he can't. The devolution has allowed the Welsh and Scottish governments to make their own rules in the Department of Health. And they are saying that they're going to do, but hang on, there's a Labour administration in Wales in the Senate, but not in Scotland.
Where are you getting this information, though? Because I can't see it.
You can't find it. I found it somewhere on Twitter. Or was it Facebook or something?
You mean it was an opinion, or it was a direct link to a verified story?
Well, he was addressing his constituency Labour Party.
Well, that seems highly unlikely.
And that's what I thought.
Why would he say that?
Well,
I mean, even if they planned to do it, they wouldn't say it. Wouldn't blurt something that controversial out now. I mean, they've spent the last few years trying desperately not to say anything controversial.
He's got form on this. He has said, and I quote, there is room for privatisation in the health service.
I know, yeah.
So I don't want to frighten the horses.
Well, what he said was that the NHS should seek to use private healthcare capacity, which is which is similar but different. It is.
Yep. Okay. I'll take your word for it.
I mean, if that's a stopgap move till they can actually put it back together again, put our health service back together again, then of course it makes sense. But if it's if the direction of travel is to what America has, which I suspect is where we're going with the current regime, then that would be absolutely catastrophic and would be the second stupidest thing that this country has ever done.
Exactly. I totally agree. Yeah. But the point being, did he say it?
I've just scanned it because I hadn't heard that he said that, and I just scanned the World Wide Web.
I hope he hasn't.
And I see no evidence for him having said that, and nor does it seem likely that he would blurt out something like that, even if he did believe it, down to his cotton socks.
Okay.
All right. Are you feeling better now? No.
I'm totally relieved.
A little bit, yeah. Okay.
Nick, you're wonderful.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. Well, that is true. I am wonderful. On the other hand, Lena texts, you're a charlatan. Oh, what? Of course it's raining in Glasgow. It's a day that ends with Y, says Lena. Well, that is true. Peter texts, why do you and some callers and pundits think Labour is a shoo-in for number 10? Does nobody remember 1992 and Neil Kinnock? We're all right, says Peter, exclamation mark. What do you mean, we? Yeah, Neil Kinnock, he was in the news just lately for saying that he has predicted a victory for Labour leader Keir Starmer at the next election. Neil Kinnock, the man who lost the unlosable election. So you've got Neil Kinnock on board now.
No.
Damn it, I hit the wrong one. It's very, very close to this.
Oh, no.
Which would have made sense. Former Labour leader Neil Kinnock has cautiously predicted a victory for Keir Starmer at the next general election, but refused to speculate on whether he will win a majority. Well, just blurt it out. No one's going to hold you to it. Lord Kinnock famously lost the 1992 election despite the polls being stacked firmly in his favour, as the country, then under its 13th consecutive year of Conservative government, battled a recession and declining living standards. His rival, John Major, clinched a victory in a shock outcome that resulted in 5 more years of the Tories in power before being wiped out by Tony Blair. You remember Tony Blair, don't you? Before he got that sort of mad billionaire look about him. I don't know what it is with billionaires, but they've all got the same haircut, those that still have hair. It's like they're auditioning for the Rolling Stones. What is it with that hair? It's like long and lanky and it's just like they've found a new oil reserve. Given Skier's 20-point lead in the polls, pundits are questioning whether the next election could be a repeat of the party's 1997 landslide victory or a 1992 false dawn under Kinnock. Well, I think the similarities are worryingly numerous, except that I think Kinnock is Jeremy Corbyn in this instance, because let's not forget, he hasn't got any hair at the moment, but he used to have ginger hair. And there's a certain resistance, isn't there? Plus, he was more left-wing, as Jeremy Corbyn is. Starmer is more Tony Blair, isn't he? So, we might be all right, Peter, but if I'm reading your text right, you might not be. Oh dear, what a pity, never mind. Bromley, hello, Richard.
Nick, hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello. Oh, just mentioned 26%.
What's that?
When you polls and the lead that the Labour Party have at the moment, a 26-point lead. It's going to be a hard one, but then we get a Tory MP, William. Is that his name? Willie? Is it?
Oh
okay?
no, this isn't a listener with material, is it?
Oh no.
when it comes to a Tory MP sending pictures of himself, surely that's not right in the first instance. But perhaps they're onto something. It's the only way is to win via, the naked attraction.
No.
Debate, a naked poll. It's the way forward.
Okay, it sounds like he's made a bet with somebody as to how many unpleasant words and references he can get into the one call. Time's up, Richard, if that is indeed your name. Jed texts, time on the moon moves at a different rate because of gravity. Nonsense. Magnets, idiot. Greg texts, I'm listening to an audiobook at the moment, Nuclear War, The Scenario, by Annie Jacobson, a Pentagon journalist for the New York Times. There is one quote that I thought I'd share with you, or World War III would just take 72 minutes. Punctuation. People, please. There is one quote I thought I'd share with you. World War III would take just 72 minutes of thermonuclear exchange that would take our civilization and species advancement back 50,000 years. And Wales won 4-0 against Croatia, says Greg. Yeah, I don't believe any of that stuff. Stop freaking out about that, kids. I mean, we went through that in the 60s and the 70s. The 80s we were blissfully unaware because everybody was just either making a lot of money or obsessed with trying to become one of the people that were making a lot of money. Yeah, so we weren't concentrating too hard on the end of civilization as we know it. But we went through that already. Paint your windows white, duck and cover, all that nonsense. It won't make no never mind. And the next war is not going to be like the last war because if it can be delayed by about 10 years, then the next war will be completely done by remote control. It'll be automatic. Somebody will just press a big button, and I have a fair idea of who that might be.
Donald Trump is not a nice person.
Then, which will be immediately followed by, bombs raining from the sky, and then that'll be that. And then there'll be a brief period of 1,000,000 years of darkness, and then nature will peek back out again. Don't worry about a thing. Everything's going to be fine. 0345 6060 973. Text and emails. Peter says, no, read that. Lena says, read that. Rachel says, if Labour are having trouble articulating their policy proposals for the election, could they do with a Sims game to clarify their vision for a Labour government? I have absolutely no idea what that means. I have no idea what that means. What's a Sims game? Jed texts. Read that. I'm doing very, very well. I'm up to date. Tristan says, I wonder how long Fisher can go without saying crystal clear. Every time he does an interview, he is crystal clear about the plan. The thing is, nobody else knows what the plan is. So who's he being crystal clear with? You know whose fault this is? Sparkles and Corbyn. Yeah, especially Sparkles. You see what you've done? His plan. He's mentioned it so many times, but he's never actually told us what it is, other than we have to stick to it.
We have a plan, or you just go back to square one. That's why it's so important we stick to this plan, because we have a plan, we put that plan in place, where there is absolutely no plan. Right? We have got a plan, that plan is working. If we stick with it, we can deliver a brighter future for the country. But like my main message is plan, no plan.
He ain't got no plan.
This is LBC. Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbott. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Are you trying to tell me that this is your act?
Yes, sadly, this is it. Let's take a call in Harrow by a person called Jonathan. Harrow.
Good evening, Nick.
Yes, Jonathan.
Look, I think I usually call you with jovial points, okay? Mm-hmm. But I think in this April, I'm unraveling and the country is unraveling. Now, without wishing to be depressing this year.
Yes.
This weekend, or rather this week, has seen the Nigel Farage's birthday party.
Yeah.
And there was an ice sculpture, and the guest list included the Aaron Banks. It included the nutty one, the one who was a thick PM, the lady.
You're going to have to narrow it down for us.
Liz Truss.
Oh, the nutty one. Right, okay. Well, you should have said that right at the beginning.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And Zim Davidson. And I can say this word because James O'Brien referred to Nigel Farage as this on his morning show, so I can say it on LBC. He said Nigel Farage is a skid mark on Britain.
Oh.
Which is like the mark of when you do a pass the wind in your underpants, isn't it? Feces mark.
Yes. Yeah. Thank you for describing that in detail.
Now, the problem is, I voted, I've said many times why I voted, I've said I voted the Brexit. I've never said why because it's a bit controversial. But I acknowledge the error of my ways.
Right, but now I need to know why.
Well, I'm not a picker, but I used to listen to LBC a lot when Nigel had his show, actually.
Yeah.
And I was living in a little house, and no, I'm not a racist.
But?
Yeah, but no, come on. But my Romanian car washers, I thought when I was doing well financially, I had a BMW, I thought my Romanian car washers had stolen my tax disc.
Yeah.
No, I'm being serious.
Yes.
Now, actually, what it turned out, because I told you I'm from Kolkata in India, and the Romanians there in the UK, they actually, a lot of them originated in the Rajasthan in the 1600s, the traveller community.
Is that right?
And in fact, the tax disc was under my sofa.
Well, where else would you keep your tax disc?
No, but I thought they'd steal it.
Yes. Well, why wouldn't
Not
you?
in a racist way.
No.
Yeah. But my point is, I acknowledge I said to you, I'm sorry, okay? I'm sorry for what I did. But can I say one thing? Your LBC callers and the British public, I'll go on Twitter, I'll go on YouTube, and there are still people, when it comes to immigration, the dingy people, lots of immigration in this country. You know who they still blame?
You?
They're still blaming the Labour.
Oh, well... Yes, with good reason. I mean, the Conservative Party have only had 14 years in power. Give them a chance.
No, but I mean, are people actually mentally backward?
Which ones?
No, sorry.
I mean, can we narrow it down geographically, at least?
No, I mean, the problem is, I watch a YouTube channel of a chap called The Bold and Bankrupt. Have you ever seen it?
No.
He travels all around the world, and I think he's a bit creepy, but he does good show. And it's true. But he came back to the UK, and he was obviously, he's a British expat, so he's not immigrant, he's expat, and then he comes back and he's implicitly saying, oh, look, there's lots of immigrants there. Yeah. And he started his video like in some awful part of the UK, like Birmingham.
Oh.
And you know what sorry. Hello?
Yes.
You know what he started his video with?
No, I don't.
He started it for international audience. It's very popular. He started it with a montage of Tony Blair and things can only get better. And then he panned to all the rubbish. And it's as if he's blaming Blair for the conservative policy. But your station's listeners are no offense to them, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
But are they actually mentally backward? Because now on Twitter, I saw David Cameron at the NATO giving a speech. Did you say it? He's doing like a PR shot.
Yeah, he's talking while walking, yeah.
And people on Twitter, the centrists, the ones who said that the Jeremy Corbyn was an anti-Semitism, they are now again going, oh, Cameron, he's doing quite good as the foreign minister. And he's not. He's just a posh man who they say, oh, he would be better than Sunak. And you know why they're saying this, the wokey centrists?
Go on.
Because they're the racist.
Right.
No, I'm being serious. Because,
no doubt.
You know, it is the racism because David Cameron is a white posh man with a lovely face, a very strong sort of muscles. No, I'm not gay, but I'm saying he's got lovely body.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah, that's the first thing I noticed about him. His whole physical presence. Yeah.
No, they look at him and they look at people like me or the Rishi Sunak and they think we should be doing the Deliveroo or the waiters service because there are a lot of racists. But can I quickly say another thingy before I go, if I can?
Yeah, before you go. Yeah, time's running out. Go ahead.
The two quick things that I've been having insomnia and financial problems, and Dev Patel has a new movie, and I had visions of him actually, and I could have been like him, and I'm so zealous. But before I go, I'll tell you the problem is this country now. Feminism has meant that families in this country are all. It's just. Single. No, again, I have to be careful, not in an offensive way. It's women with their kiddies and no husbands. And I was and you were talking with Rajesh in Oldbury, you know, the fish fry about this thing. Because you were. Listen, quick last thing. Because I was in London, and London is. I mean, I don't want to be offensive, but it is now like an open toilet.
Sewer, yeah.
You know, and I was on the tube, and there was and this is not in a racist way, but there was a young mixed-race chap, very young, maybe 15, and he had a big afro, and he kissed his teeth as he went onto the tube because it was so overcrowded. And I know you don't like a listener with material. No, but this actually happened to me. Yes. He stepped back into me, and some of his afro went into my mouth, and that is literally shoving multiculturalism into your throat, isn't it? Down your throat. You know?
Yeah, leave us with that vivid mental image. Thanks a lot, Jonathan. It was Jonathan in Harrow. 0345 6060 973. Pushed down his throat. Can you believe that? Martin texts, I think it's Labour's plan to utilise private healthcare to reduce waiting lists and then to steadily wean the NHS off its dependency on outsourcing. What, like a baby? Steve says, in the centre of the grounds of the Hadron Collider is the statue of Shiva, the Hindu god of destruction. Should we be worried? Well, they certainly, those geniuses certainly know a lot more than we do about everything. So, yes, I think we should start worrying now in order to save time later. The Hindu god of destruction. And Andy says, when will you people in the lamestream media admit that it was Meghan Markle impersonating Prince Andrew with the Mission Impossible mask in that Emily Maitlis interview? How does she keep getting away with it? She's ruined this country. Yeah, thanks a lot, Meghan Markle. No! You see what you've done? York. Hello, Jan.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I am great, mate.
Good. Can I say two things?
Okay.
The first one, do you know that your favourite film's on at a cinema near you?
Koyaanisqatsi?
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Prince Charles Cinema.
Oh.
It's on tomorrow.
Well, that's no good to me.
At 1 p.m.
Oh, right.
And the 23rd of April at 4 p.m.
Yeah, I've seen it so many times, and I've got so many copies of it because every year or so they change the format. First it was on video, and then it's on a video disc, and then it's on DVD, and so.
You haven't seen it on the big screen though.
Yeah, I mean the first time I saw it on the big screen, and I saw it when they did it at the Royal Festival Hall with an actual orchestra doing that very, very complicated Philip Glass soundtrack.
Right.
And in tune, in time with the actual film. And for the first time, you ever heard that phrase, a hair in the gate?
No.
Yeah, it's a film speak. You check if there's a hair in the gate before you roll. Because if there's a hair in just in front of where the light comes in, then you got this huge, looks like a tree waving around on the image. So you must check that there's no hair in the gate. And very, very sadly, at that performance, about sort of 20 minutes in, there was a hair in the gate, but they couldn't stop it and take the hair out because they had a live orchestra there as well. So they just had to keep playing. And you're staring at this thing on the screen, and it's the worst, because the whole point of Koyaanisqatsi is the beautiful images, which were totally ruined by this huge waggling hair, which did look like a tree, just sort of waving about in silhouette all over the picture. It was just awful.
Well, you'll have to go and see it again here.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, on to the second thing.
Yeah.
You know the goose and cuckoo often gets mentioned on here?
Yes.
Well, I was watching The Great Canal Journeys the other night. Have you ever seen it?
No.
It's with Prunella Scales and Timothy West.
Oh, yeah.
And they were on the Monmouth and Brecon Canal, and they went to the goose and cuckoo.
Did they?
They did.
You see, I was just... I thought that it was something that somebody had made up.
No,
there's an
it's
actual
not.
pub called the Goose and Cuckoo. Why?
Yeah.
Why is it called that?
Well, apparently the story goes that it was two sisters who argued, and one called the other one a silly goose, and the other one called the other one a silly cuckoo.
And ever since, that's what it's been called. And you found that out from that television show?
Well, no, I didn't. I read that up. In the television show, Timothy West got a different story.
Right.
I think he was wrong. He said it was a husband and wife that called each other goose and cuckoo.
Right.
He was wrong, though.
These are small details, but the overall story is what explains it satisfactorily.
Yeah.
But
anyway, yeah.
It is quite possible that watching television is educational.
Sometimes it is, isn't it?
Every now and again. Almost by accident, you learn something. Yeah. Good work, Jan. Thanks for that. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Okie dokie.
Yes, hello. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
Yes, hello, I've been waiting for you. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick. You okay?
Yes, good, thanks. Have you been frying tonight?
Yes, very poorly tonight.
Oh, really?
Not very good.
People don't have much of a taste for mystery fish.
No. I think people are just skint after Easter.
Yeah.
Spending their money, you know what I mean? And some of them were making excuses. Oh, we won't go to the chippy today. We'll watch the football. Yeah, so I want to say hello to...
Is that an either or? I think that those two things go together really well.
What's that?
A visit to the chippy and watching football.
Yeah, it should go. When you got money in your pocket, you can go to the chippy early, yeah, and then come back home and watch football.
Well, how much is a bag of chips over at your place?
A medium bag of chips, £2.90.
What?
Yeah.
£2.90? Hey, grand when I was a lad, you could get a three-piece suit and a holiday in Morecambe and a bag of chips for £2.90.
I know. Can I just say hello to one of your fans that come to visit me today? His name's Abbot from Leicester.
Yeah, hey, Leicester.
Hello. Yeah, he wanted to come down. He says he loves your show. Anyway, Jeff from the Welsh fellow that found in about the National Health Service in Wales.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. This is what, fair play, I like listening to him. You got to do a bit of research, and I may be wrong, okay? The government releases money to the Welsh Assembly, and it's up to them what they want to spend it on, yeah? Because in the population of Wales is roughly the same amount of as the Greater West Midlands, about 5 million people.
Yeah.
Okay? And Scotland's about the same, 5 million, yeah? So when they say, the prescriptions are free in Wales, prescriptions are free in Scotland.
Just in Scotland, I think, not in Wales, I'm not sure.
Or university fees or whatever. That means when they refer to Scotland, it sounds as, a country. It's only 5 million people, yeah? Now, this is where the government looks good, right? So what will happen is when we have the election, West Streeting will send some money to Wales, whatever. It's up to them what they want to do. Yeah. Well,
you can say the same. Yeah, you can say the same about local councils, though. I mean, the local councils are in receipt of government money, and the government makes a big play of, we let the councils, manage their own affairs, because that's devolution. But if you defund an institution to the point where they can't cope anymore, well, what are they going to do? Now they have a choice of, should we provide care for people who are dying or fix the potholes in the road? And so they provide the care as much as they can, and then everybody takes that for granted and complains about the potholes.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from, because what's happened is something was introduced called ring fencing. You can only spend the money on what it's allocated for. Like now, in around Birmingham, they're building cycle lanes, yeah? But they're not repairing the potholes, okay? Because that money, I've been told by local councillors, was supposed to be spent on cycle lanes, and it can't be spent anywhere else.
Right.
Okay? So I don't know...
What about potholes in cycle lanes?
Oh, my God, potholes... you know what? I'll tell you something, right, and this is not... Hardly ever see anybody in a cycle lane, right? Because around where we live, there's loads of them, yeah? And they would have been better off repairing the potholes. The amount of punches that I've had... Yeah?
I cannot believe... The last week, I mean, potholes are bad, but I don't know what happened last week. There wasn't a big freeze, because that's what normally does for road surfaces. But coming here tonight, it's like doing a slalom. I mean, normally I can remember where the big potholes are. You know to slow down or swerve, making sure that you don't take out some motorcycle rider who's trying to undertake you on a roundabout. God, those people just drive me nuts. Why can't they just wait in traffic like the rest of us? But coming here tonight, I've never seen anything like it. It's like I don't know what's happened. What happened in the last week to make the problem 10 times worse than it was before?
Well, last week my son had a puncture. He phoned me up. He said, I've had a puncture, and he had a total wipeout on the tyre, right? I've had a puncture, and my tyre cost me 200 and something pounds. I mean, the most expensive... I'm seriously, yeah? Okay. And the thing is, because...
What do you drive? A tractor?
A tractor won't... trust me, a tractor will go over the pothole.
Maybe it's the tractor that's making them in the first place.
No, but generally, over the last 14 years, what's happened in this country, we're just going back to that, is they've just wrecked the country totally. Whichever way they can wreck it, they are wrecking it, right?
Yeah. Well, it feels that they ain't started yet, that they can see the end coming at them like an express train, and they're just desperately trying to find any way they can to monetize their position while salting the earth to make sure that whoever takes over next is screwed.
I mean, some of the things that I listen to, I know I'm not supposed to criticise LBC or the people that advertise on there, yeah?
Well, okay? especially the latter. Don't even think about it, Ranjit. I'll disappear you before you know it.
No, I won't say nothing. What I'm saying is, right, there's so much things, right, that are just common sense. People don't even understand common sense. And you know what? I'll stop talking to people now, and I'll say, listen, mate, you know what? I'm not even going to bother explaining anything to you. I spoke to somebody today. It'd be bad when Labour comes in. I said, tell you what, mate. I'll tell you what. Let's spend 2 minutes, right? Name me 3 things that are better off. Right.
3? They couldn't name one. Are you kidding? No, I've done that topic on this show time and time again, and it gets zero response. Nobody can think of a single thing.
Yeah. And I said, this is what Boris Johnson was good. I said, you know what?
God.
I said to him, I said, mate, I'm going to have to walk off from here. I said, because I can't believe that you are semi-intelligent, and you are saying that to me, And, you know,
you want to put a note on the outside of your shop. Semi-intelligent people not required. Go over the road. Get yourself a burger.
No, but the thing, like I'm saying to you, it's happening all over. I mean, I was in India earlier this year. Same things happening there. Same things happening in America. Everywhere you go around the world, right? And you talk to people, and they are just fixated on stupidity. You know,
it's like the world's super rich have maybe they know something that we don't, almost certainly, and they've decided that we're going to rinse these morons for as much as we possibly can, and then build a wall of money around us so that none of the consequences of our actions will actually hurt us personally, like the oil companies, for instance. What?
Can I just interject? You know, when you're on about the Third World War, the Third World War, yeah? At the end of the Second World War, the Germans turned round to the British and said, Tommy, you might have won this war, but you will not win the next war because it's going to be an economic war.
Well, they said it in German, so we had no idea what they were talking about.
It could have said, would you like salt and vinegar on your chips, right? And you said yes.
And they'll say, no, we only got mayonnaise. Oh... mayonnaise on chips?
Have you ever had mayonnaise and curry sauce on chips?
Yes.
There you are then. That's quite nice.
Yeah, it is pretty good actually, yeah. I had it just the other day, as a matter of fact.
I'll tell you what you should try and eat, right? Pita bread with some chips in and curry sauce and mayonnaise, right?
Oh, are you kidding? Well, you want a side of pasta and rice with that? You want chips and pita bread on the same plate?
No, in the pita bread filled with chips and curry sauce.
No, hold the pita bread.
No, listen to me. You have one of those, but you're going to have to make sure that you get a napkin ready because it's going to go all over you when you take a bite.
Right. No, I'm not biting that. I'll be eating it with a knife and fork for a start, and I'll be I'll be taking it out of the pita bread and throwing the pita bread away. That stuff's awful.
Then just have curry sauce and chips.
Yeah. Well, there you go. Yes, please. I'll have a large portion, please.
Yeah.
But I won't give you a penny over $2.50.
I don't know. Listen, if you're going to come up here, right, you can have something for nothing.
Something for nothing, right? Okay, that suits me just fine. Right. Okay, I'll be over after the show. Make sure you're open at 3 in the morning. All right. Thanks a lot, Ranjit. 0345 6060 973. He's right, it's great, says the glamorous assistant next door. What is?
Pita bread, chips, curry sauce.
No.
You're just wrong about this.
I'm completely correct in every respect. I think you will find. Because it'd be like a fist-sized wad of dough in your stomach. It's just too much. Pita bread and chips. Like ordinary bread, maybe, but pita bread, I mean, that stuff's so dense you could use it as shoe leather. No. I'm feeling like I need to lie down just thinking about it. A lie down and a pass out. Keith texts, I watched a documentary called After Man, which was about how the planet would cope if man and a woman disappeared tomorrow. And it showed how great Earth would recover if we weren't here. It was brilliant, says Keith. Yeah. We're holding the Earth back. It's all our fault. There's a very good exhibition at the Saatchi Gallery if you're in London or have access to it, and a lot of really large-scale, beautiful pictures by somebody whose name I've forgotten. Sorry about that. But they're large-scale pictures of the destruction that man has wrought on Earth. Now, I know that doesn't sound like it would be nice to look at, but it really is. They're stunning. at the Saatchi Gallery in poshest Chelsea. You can try it and thank me later. No, wait. I've changed my mind. You can thank me now.
This is LBC. This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Are you trying to be funny? Because I'm all out of laughs.
No, there's nothing funny about it. John texts, now you've got me so worried I'll be up all night looking for where I put those iodine tablets that they sent me last time we were on the verge of nuclear war. Well, if you can't find the iodine tablets, I would just try to swallow one of those urinal cakes. I believe they have the same effect. That's what I heard from Donald Trump.
I'm not a doctor.
Raf texts, sorry, but you boobed. Time on the moon does run at a different rate to time on Earth. Einstein's theory of relativity shows this as gravity affects time. Even the GPS satellites have their times adjusted to get over this effect, says Raf. Nonsense. What's Einstein know about science? Nothing. I rest my case. And Kat texts, I had my tax disc stolen by car washers in Harrow as well. Is that a fact? Should we talk about flags? Oh, OK, why not? The UK government should appoint a minister for flags, a Tory MP suggests. This news comes amid anger at brands changing the colours of the English St George's Cross and the Union flag. Brands, of course, which include the Conservative Party and the UKIP Party and the Reform Party. The parties that are hyperventilating the most about other people playing around with the nation's flag play around with the nation's flag. It's almost as though they're hypocrites, accusing others of the things that they do, hoping that nobody remembers or cares. In March, top politicians with nothing better to do with their time joined the backlash after Nike altered the English flag. It seems so very long ago, but they don't want us to forget it. I mean, there was a brief period when we were shouting at scones, but that's come and gone. They introduced purple and blue horizontal stripes in what Nike called a playful update to the team shirt ahead of Euro 2024. And when the foamers heard the word playful, they translated that to gay and had a fit you could see through concrete. And in April, the Team GB Olympic squad were forced to respond after anger at a variation on the Union flag using shades of pink and sky blue, as well as patterns of squiggles and dots, which appeared on merchandise sold since June last year. But nobody noticed then, because the Tories were still a party of governing rather than a party of distraction. Actually, that's not true, were they? I think they'd given up governing a long time before that. Abbot.
I can't comment on that.
Yes. Blah, blah, blah. But we weren't screaming at flags in June 2023. That was something else, just as the nation moved on to scream at scones last week. Just as Esther McVey, the Tory Minister for Common Sense, posted an image of the Union flag on social media writing, I'm proud of our national flag. Can everyone leave it alone and just keep it as it is? Literally days after the rest of the nation had moved on from flags. It's almost as though this lot haven't anything positive to offer, so they just keep trying to keep the plates of outrage spinning. I mean, they've got the plate of the statues of the slave traders and the plate of lefty wokies who are sensitive to other people's feelings, and there's the small boats plate, which is getting a bit wobbly, needs a bit of attention. Or that one's going to fall to the ground and smash.
The country's priority is to stop the boats. And at the same time, I think people know that I'm relentlessly focusing on stopping the boats. And I'm relentlessly focused on stopping the boats. That's one of my 5 priorities.
If you're relentlessly focused, he's working day and night to stop the boats. Esther McVey, the Tory Minister for Common Sense, posted her somewhat late outrage about meddling with the flag, saying, British Airways tried to change it many years ago. What a massive mistake that was. Just as it is now with our British Olympic Association trying to tamper with it. I mean, either there's no such thing as common sense, or the person whose actual job title it is uniquely lacking in it. But her own party messed with the flag on multiple occasions for their own branding. They turned it all blue and squeezed it into the shape of a tree. They seem to have harvested a lot of planks from that tree. But it's worse than that, because Tory MP Henry Smith, the chair of the all-party Parliamentary Group on Flags and Heraldry, I'm not making that up, suggested that the UK government should appoint a Minister for Flags. Smith said, "We've seen this constant erosion of British identity. People died for freedom under the Union flag, and I think it should be respected," said a man whose own party doesn't respect the flag. He said, "I'm fed up with this sort of constant erosion of respect for our national symbols, and I suspect that this is something deliberate, and I suspect Team GB, probably in a panic, just pulled it back to say that the Union Jack will be properly displayed on the kit." He's fed up. He represents the people of Crawley in Sussex, a place where one food bank said they provided 100,000 hot drinks and 46,500 meals to homeless and disadvantaged and socially excluded people in the past year alone. But please do go on about flags. And he did. Tory MP Henry Smith, the chair of the all-party Parliamentary Group on Flags and Heraldry, I didn't make that up, said it wouldn't cost any more, it would just fix a point of responsibility in government to make sure that our national symbols are protected. Yeah, protected from people like the Conservative Party. And here comes the tell. This is a bit where they project. He said, "So many of our symbols are now under actual deliberate attack by those who are interested in pursuing the culture wars, trying to cancel what it is to be British and all of the great things we have done." All right, well, let's leave the cancel what it is to be British nonsense, because that's so meaningless, it's hard to imagine anyone saying it out loud. Let's concentrate on the deliberate attack by those who are interested in pursuing culture wars part. I mean, it's also, what would Donald Trump do? He would accuse others of that which he is guilty. What have the Tories done lately other than deliberately ramp up silly culture wars? Can these people hear themselves? And as for the last bit, trying to cancel what it is to be British and all of the great things we have done. Great things. Like what? Name one great thing this Conservative Party has done in the 14 years they've been in power. And, by the way, since Tory Henry Smith has been an MP. Name one thing that's better now than it was then. I double dare you. He said, "One of the things I reflect on is that actually the Union Jack is a very trendy, popular symbol around the world. You see the Union Jack everywhere, probably one of the most recognisable flags in the world," said Tory MP Henry Smith. Well, it's recognisable partly because we forced much of the world to fly it from their government buildings under threat of death. But it's probably woke to say that, so I won't. And, by the way, the all-party Parliamentary Group of flag huggers that he chairs has a stated purpose, which is, quotes, "to promote the flying of the Union flag and flags associated with the UK, British territories, dependencies, the Commonwealth, heraldry, British symbols and related issues." Because when everything else is perfect, when all problems have been solved, and no one goes without or is unhappy in this land, only then can our elected representatives spend our money and their time on obsessing about flags and heraldry. Oh, and by the way, the 11 officers of that group, 7 are Tories. There's 2 lords, a sir and Ian Paisley.
Oh, no.
Truly representative, in touch with the nation, concentrating on the important stuff. I can't believe it. Let's have Devon. Hello, Rose.
Oh, hello, Nick. Well, I mean, it's just total insanity.
Yes.
I've rung you about... I've got a bit of information, because last Friday we were talking, you and I, and you said how amazing it was the way birds fly into the branches and foliage of trees.
Yes, without knocking themselves out.
Just,
yeah.
That's right, and quickly. And that you were, if you were to try it, catastrophe would ensue.
Yes.
Well,
no doubt. I'd bend my beak.
Yes. Funnily enough, on the Sunday, I tuned into BBC Radio, and yes, I heard a probable explanation of this. It was a zoologist and ornithologist whose lifelong love really is researching birds and bird behaviour. He's a specialist in.
Yeah.
He was talking about it. You know, he was being interviewed about his life in general, but I wrote down what he was saying, because he said that birds have an amazing spatial memory.
Memory?
Spatial memory, and they have this enlarged, proportionately in their little brain, an enlarged hippocampus, which is the area that governs the spatial memory.
Right.
And it's the...
God, wouldn't it be
I'll
awful
say that bit in a minute.
Wouldn't it be awful if hippocampuses could fly? Can you imagine getting pooped on by one of those? Good grief, you'd have to dig yourself out, wouldn't you?
Well, I know, but you see how that could work. They just remember exactly where it was that they went in. But, of course, that doesn't really explain the first time they go in a particular tree, does it? So I suppose they'd be more circumspect the first time.
I just think they can think more quickly than we can.
Well, they do. Everything's very much faster with them, because it's very fast. What is that expression? I've written it down here and I can't find it.
Live fast, die young.
No.
Which is exactly what they do.
Sorry, interrupting. Yes, exactly. Yes. Well, some birds do live to 15, but not very often.
Really?
Very fast metabolic rate. That's it. So everything's speeded up.
Yeah, but that doesn't account for their brain being sped up. I mean, I get their heart beats, 10 to the dozen.
I think it would, Nick.
But their
would
brain,
be the whole system.
Really?
See? Yes, probably. Yes, I think so. The system's very much a whole thing, but we speculate here, obviously.
Yeah. By which you mean we have no idea what we're talking about. Speculate.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is the same as London cabbies, the ones who master the knowledge. They
can fly through trees too.
Stop it! It's doing my head in. Well, it would do my head in, flying through trees. Yeah. No. For the
yeah, but that's
where
train.
they can just go everywhere.
Yeah, but they're not they're
not intuitive.
They're not born with that ability. I don't think in large. They train themselves. Now birds don't train themselves to fly through trees, because on the first attempt they'd kill themselves.
Yeah, but
So
it is similar in that this research has been done. These chaps have an enlarged hippocampus, and they have a very, very good spatial memory, so that they train easily. You see what I'm getting at? Because it is very complicated, that the whole London thing, isn't it?
That's just a fact. It is complicated, that whole London thing. Yeah, there ain't no doubt about that. Here, Rose, I've got to go, but thanks for that.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
Some nobody.
Johan texts, as an immigrant in Portugal, I can say that expats are immigrants of a certain ethnicity who refuse to integrate or speak anything but English. I think he's talking about us. John says, is this guy on the phone, and I do believe he was talking about Jonathan from Harrow. Harrow, is this guy on the phone a stand-up comedian in disguise? He reminds me of Peter Cook masquerading as Sven from Iceland. The jury is out. I suspect the former. He's definitely not Peter Cook. I think we can completely rule that out. Yeah. No doubt about that. Gareth texts, hair in the gate is when the director is happy with the take and the clapper loader checks the gate to see if a thin strip of film hasn't been caught while rolling and thus ruin the previous take. Things you learn, eh? Says Gareth. Well, I've learnt nothing from that because it didn't really make any sense. Where's the hair part? And Bob says, Mika is right. You should not ridicule people for physical characteristics beyond their control. The sooner you realise that, the better, says Bob. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
And what's dispiriting about the flag issue is how keen to jump on it is Keir Starmer. Because, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that, OK, I'll take that back. I was going to say I was kind of surprised that Esther McVey, the Minister for Common Sense, it seemed so out of tune with the times that she brought the flag thing back, it having expired from the nation's consciousness about a week previous. It's almost as though she woke up from a coma and said, oh, flags, yeah, I've got to tweet something about that, because that would be the common sense thing to do. It just seemed, I don't know, out of time, because we'd already moved on to the National Trust and their woke scones. No! Which is exactly what this guy was saying, to a T. He said, so many of our symbols are now under actual deliberate attack by those who are interested in pursuing the culture wars. Tory MP Henry Smith had the nerve to say that. So many of our symbols are now under actual deliberate attack by those who are interested in pursuing the culture wars. He's talking about the Tories, because that is exactly what they're doing. The National Trust. Constantly going on about the National Trust. And you'd have to think, why? What is that about? I mean, they're an organisation that takes care of the things that we're supposed to value in this country. And they've been attacking. Almost as though they want access to the land that they control in order to, I don't know, frack on it? Build endless houses of tiny size and mean proportions. It's bizarre, but all of the symbols in this country are now under attack by the very party that wraps themselves in the flag so much. And now Keir Starmer, he can't help himself. I mean, he could be the grown-up in the room, but has decided that that's actually not what we want. That's not what people in this country are looking for. We don't want grown-ups. We want this like baby show. Keir Starmer is facing discontent from Labour MPs over the dominant use of the Union flag in election campaign material, amid concern it may alienate ethnic minority voters and others. A wokey-cokey alert.
Okie-dokie.
Concerns were raised at a recent meeting of the party's Black, Asian and minority ethnic group at Westminster, and also by London members of the Parliamentary Labour Party. There's also unhappiness among some activists who are reluctant to handle the material, as in the Union flag. Just say nothing. Yeah, I mean... It's just so dispiriting. There was criticism from those at a meeting of MPs from ethnic minority backgrounds, including, but not limited to, Keir Starmer's Chief of Staff, Sue Gray. You remember Sue Gray, right? I used to have a clip, but it seems to have disappeared off my screen. Sue Gray, a woman of impeccable talent and on they went. Right up to the point where she joined the Labour Party and Smug and the rest of them just freaked out. So there was criticism from Sue Gray, the Chief Whip, Alan Campbell, of free post leaflets that were, as one MP put it, plastered with Union Jacks. The Union flag has taken on an increasingly prominent role under Starmer as he seeks to emphasise Labour's patriotic credentials, and it's all totally meaningless. The party that covers themselves in the flag the most are usually the least interested in doing what is right for the country. But now we're into flag escalation conflict now, and it's all about perception. So why give the other side the benefit of being out-flagged? I mean, the opposition will only count the flags on the pamphlets and claim that Labour aren't patriotic enough because they've only got a Union Jack on the front and one on the back, while Reform have several on every page. And the Tories even took the flag and coloured it blue, and everyone was furious about that, weren't they?
No.
No. No. In an attempt to lose the next election and grab failure from the jaws of success, some Labour MPs have suggested that the prominence of the red, white and blue still has negative connotations among ethnic minority communities targeted by the far right. They asked why material provided could not be more tailored to specific constituencies. Well, let's think about that for a second.
No, 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 no.
No. I mean, can we be honest about this? It's a game. It's a game of who can pretend to be the most interested in the nation by how many times they can say the word patriot and how often they can hug the red, white and blue. And this is exactly what Labour do. And to Keir Starmer's credit, they haven't done it much under his watch. They split into small tribes and start wrestling with each other, fall to the ground and let the Tories step nimbly over them and take the tape. They're doing that again. One MP says, we're really proud of our country, but this can be a complex issue for some communities, and we have to navigate that more carefully. For a lot of communities, we're talking about colours that are associated with the National Front or another far-right group. Well, that's just the people of this country meekly giving our flag away to mouth breathers. We shouldn't have let them take it in the first place, and we certainly should be retaking it now. I mean, it's a game in that it doesn't really mean anything on its own. Britain has been sold to the highest, sometimes for those with insider knowledge, to the lowest bidder. There's nothing left that's British anymore. Our flag's made in China. Our railways are foreign, so are our waters, our banks, our cars, our power, our papers. Pretty much everything that defines the nation is owned by people of other nations. So this obsession with patriotism's a bit late. I mean, the country's gone. But there's a large group of people, let's call them honest, simple folk, who don't know that. They still react to the flag like it's sent from God. So why give them a reason not to vote for you by complaining about the number of them on your pamphlets? I mean, normally I'd be turned off by all this phony flag waving, but in this case it seems like the Labour Party has been trying to keep itself together while bursting at the seams, and before the election they're going to explode with rage, not at the opposition, but at themselves. I can see the headlines now. Woke, lefty, snowflake, Labour, traitors hate Britain. And there's just enough people who will buy that to swing an election. Remember, 1 in 5 of those who express a preference say they will vote Tory. And I bet every single one of them will actually vote. I also bet that Labour supporters will not go out and vote in the same number. I don't know whether that's true, but even if it isn't, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. It's not won yet. Keep it together, people. You don't have to believe in all that fake patriotism, but some people do, so why push them into the arms of a party that doesn't believe in it either, but uses fake patriotism as a weapon? But there's a problem with all this, though. If every party covers their leaflets with a flag, they'll all look like they're from the same party. A Labour councillor on the South Coast told The Guardian that the flag-branded material was sometimes a problem because people on the doorsteps mistook it for leaflets put out by the Conservative Party. And the Conservative leaflets look like the Reform Party leaflets. And everyone's going to appear to be the same, apart from the Greenies. I mean, their material is as green as the logo for British Petroleum. And what could be greener than that?
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
I think he's portraying a quite stupefying ignorance.
Bab says, so Boris Johnson says it's shameful to stop sending weapons to Israel. How does a man with no shame know what's shameful?
I can't comment on that.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bodge. You've delighted us enough. Don't let the door hit you on the way out. Good grief. What is it with these people that they outstay their welcome? You had a go. You were terrible at it. I mean, just abysmal from the top of your head to the soles of your shoes. And the only way in which you could possibly look good is to compare yourselves to what followed.
Absolutely.
Good grief. Caroline texts, everything sounds better in Scotland apart from the rain. Peter says, just remembered, Neil did not make way for Tony Blair, but for the decent John Smith, who was the best PM Labour never had, as I remember him described, says Peter. And Phil says, you were talking about Koyaanisqatsi, and I see on the IMDb, that's the International Movie Database, that it is the first of a trilogy. Have you seen the other two films? If so, are they any good? Or are they as good, he says. No, they're not. But they're worth seeing, but they're not as good. Koyaanisqatsi is my favourite film of all time. Koyaanisqatsi. I think you'll find that's right.
Correct.
Let's see now. Bath. Hello, John.
Hey, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
You're impressing me with your spelling there. I stand corrected there.
Yeah.
I couldn't spell the name of that film if I tried.
Got 3 A's in it. 2 of them together.
Yeah, well, it's too many for me. I was just going to say that I got 2 points. One of them minor, one of them not so. You know what, this kind of faux patriotism, you were very correct when you said we've given them the flag. The last time I saw the Union flag, I was in Broadstairs. I don't know if you know Broadstairs. It's where Ronnie Barker used to live. And it was on the beach, and there was a large Geordie gentleman wearing a pair of Union Jack underpants.
Oh, nice.
And that about sums it up for me. I mean, if you're going to actually expect deference for something, the idea that somehow something is sacrosanct is quite hysterical. Given, how many times have you seen that on somebody's head?
Well, I tell you, I've seen a Union Jack socks. They looked like they were nylon to me, and the person who had his feet on our flag was Nigel Farage.
I'm a nutcase. But there you go, and this is the point. So it's so arbitrary. And it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. And it's like, I wouldn't think of, I'm not, obviously I love the country I'm from, but I can't imagine wearing a pair of Union underpants.
No.
I mean, that wouldn't even come up in my itinerary. I can't admit the occasion. I mean, where would that come up?
It seems disrespectful apart from anything else.
Yeah, of course.
It's just a game. It is a game. People are pretending. They don't. The people who love the country the most do not wrap themselves in the most flags.
No.
In fact, it's the opposite of that. The people who are doing the country ill compensate for that by pretending to love the country all the more by the amount of flags that they're seen with.
Yeah, because it renders their critics impudent.
Yeah, moot.
And that's the point, because they'll just say, well, you're not patriot. And this is happening all over the world now, populism.
Yeah.
But I was going to... I'm going to sail very carefully here, because last time I rang you, I got cut off because I used a choice word, which I apologise for.
Right.
Do you know this fellow that... it's the reason they're obsessed with flags, because they're spending all their time on Grindr.
What's flags got to do with it? To do with it?
No, because they just seem to have so much free time.
Well, you've got to have a hobby.
They're supposed to be governing that. I just don't understand. I mean, it's like that's never come up in my workplace.
No.
And the idea that, I was always told, because I've mentioned a couple of times to you that I've got a teacher for a wife, that if you do an image of yourself, because you have to tell children this, it's tantamount to actually creating pornography. So why isn't he being charged? Because he sent a picture of himself first before they blackmailed him.
That's true, but I would assume that it was requested rather than he just thought it up and did it. But I just don't know.
But I mean, listen, I just think there should be a blanket ban on mobile phones in the House of Parliament.
Would be a good start.
I think so.
Yeah.
And, but by the way, I used to work a long time ago. I used to work in the Prince Charles Cinema. If you can, it's only up the road from you. have a look and see your favourite film without the hair in the gate, as Derek and Clive would say.
No, I can't, because it's during the day, and I can't come in and just loll around during the day on a work day.
But look, on the bright side, you'll be able to spot all the potholes during the day.
No, now that the clocks have gone forward, oh, what absolute bliss! Now, there is something weird that's happened, because it's in the last week that my route in has become actually dangerous for the number and depth of potholes, and it wasn't like this the previous week. So what's happened?
Listen, I'll tell you something, Nick. I used to work in the same area, right, because I was in theatres and cinemas and things as a young man. And I'll tell you what, when I go and visit again, and I hang around the area when I come over from Bath, I can't recognise. I sound like my late father, but just the state of the roads. I mean, you were right when you said that for the last 15 years has brought us to our knees, more or less.
Did I say that?
Well, along those lines. Because someone was saying we should be thankful, stop criticising Tichy.
No, I don't think they said that. They just took exception to me making fun of his height.
Have you actually got
my answer? I've got no idea. My answer to that is we haven't got anything else left. I mean,
I know I can't think of a single thing that I was trying. You know, what you said was true. I can't think of a single thing that is positive other than mendacity has become commonplace.
Yeah. It's absolutely extraordinary, isn't it? We've gone through 14 years. I mean, the last time that we went through 14 years of Tory rule, they could point to some things. I mean, even though most of us wouldn't say that they were actually positive, like selling off our gas and electricity and water, for crying out loud, but they could point to the nation's financial affairs and say, look, we've got more money now.
I mean, I remember I had married man allowance. I don't know if you remember that. It meant that you had a slightly better tax break if you were married and whatever. I don't know why they brought that in, but that was obviously before we awoke in a good way. But I can't think of anything either. I mean, listen, you know, Thatcher was very easy to actually deal with, like in a mental way, because you knew what she stood for, and it was generally everything we stood against.
Yes.
This new lot, I just think they just change from day to day. They're just like
shapeshifters. Yeah, just go wherever they think the outrage is.
Yeah, of course, that's what it is. But you know, if you get a chance, try and watch that film up the road, as your caller calls. You don't want to see it with a hair in the gate again.
No, exactly right. Okay, good advice. Thanks a lot, John. 0345 6060 973. Mohammed says, a stuffed pitta with chips is a little like a samosa with a potato filling. Exactly. It's too much blech. It's like this giant brick of wadded blech in your stomach. You just don't want it. Like chips on a toasted white bread, well, there you have something, because the bread would be light, but pitta is just too heavy. It's just too heavy. And you only want one... what's the food group called? Potatoes, rice, pasta, bread. What's that food group called?
Carbohydrates.
Carbohydrates is the right answer. Would you like to play for the car?
Yes, please.
Yeah, please. Well, you're going to have to come back next week. And there's no car. Carbohydrates. You only want one item of carbohydrate per plate. That's just a fact. Unless it's a chip butty, in which case you get a pass, but not with pita bread. Ugh. Mark texts, the first time I've heard WhatsApp LBC, and it's to say chips in pita bread rocks. This is the first time I've... Oh, WhatsApped LBC. Right. Well, you got that wrong, Mark. You're in your first go. Very disappointed. Lynn says, why do we need time on the moon? There are no clocks there. Well, that's a good point. Why do we need time on the moon? What's the point of time on the moon? I missed that story, but I don't really get it. Why would the Americans find that they need to have moon time? Not moonshine. That's different.
Booze.
Or Moon Tan, which was an album by the band who did Radar Love. Ba-dum, bum, 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 ba-dum. That band. Now it's going to annoy me. Radar Love by... Golden Earring is the right answer. Kath texts, please let Marc Francois be the Prime Minister for... Not the Prime Minister, the Minister for Flags. Oh, and remember the hairy bikers put tomato ketchup and salad cream on a fish finger butty. It sounds awful, but it's so wrong, it's right. That actually does sound pretty good. Not mayonnaise, salad cream. And Dave says, the cost of living crisis has even reached our precious royals. Even the king is having to sell tickets so that we plebs have a peek into one of his mansions. Yeah, and the tickets were £100.
What?
for something we've already paid for. Thanks a lot, Your Majesty, but it's a no from me. Unless we get to select and keep the knick-knack of our choice, in which case I'll be over straight away. 0345 6060 973. That's the same as the WhatsApp number, by the way. 0345 6060 973. You can text 84850. Email nick@lbc.co.uk. If you're on Twitter, it's at LBC. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbot, LBC.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
They opened their big mouths, and out came talk. Talk.
I mean, this William Ragg story, I mean, it's just absolutely mind-blowing. It's to keep the whip, by the way. Keep it in a cupboard. Tory William Ragg admits giving MPs personal phone numbers to someone he met on a dating app. William Ragg claims he was manipulated by a user on Grindr.
Disgusting.
Oh, please, nobody wants to hear that. Manipulated. They're suggesting that it's some sort of a genius spy. You know, some very, very clever and efficient foreign agent. Or, I would imagine, someone hot. I don't think great brain power was required. And on and on and on it goes. And, of course, there's not going to be they're not going to force a local election because we know what would happen. Dave texts, the cost of living crisis is even... Nope, read that. Lee says, people may sniff at the flag and how it is known all over the world. That people may sniff at the flag and how it is known all over the world that people are trying to travel to these sceptred isles by risking their lives on all sorts of flotilla cannot be that bad of a place, says Lee, who's, I would imagine, English not his first language. Stephen texts, some bird species can live much longer than 15. The oldest living wild bird is a Laysan albatross called Wisdom. She is 71 and still producing young each year. Who knew? Every now and again, this show is educational, no?
No.
Let's have Nottingham. Hello, Matt.
Hey there, Nick.
Matt.
How's it going?
Yeah, good, thanks.
I just wanted to follow on your previous caller who said that the Conservative leadership were shapeshifters.
Yeah.
And I say, obviously, they're capitalists. Thatcher was a capitalist. Rishi is probably the best capitalist we've seen.
I'm not sure that that's right. I don't think capitalism is what's on show here. I think it's something other than that. If at all, it's a twisted form of capitalism. Selling off your national assets to foreign owners to run as monopolies is not capitalism. It's worse than that.
Well, I mean, it is the definition of capitalism, but I totally agree with you.
It isn't. It is not the definition of capitalism.
And it's morally reprehensible. It's
Monopolies are the opposite of capitalism. Capitalism is where entities compete with each other for the benefit of the whole human race. Monopolies aren't.
But I think monopolies are a natural tendency of capitalism. It's human nature to devour all. But the market usually corrects.
No,
but I agree.
I'm not sure the market usually corrects. But why would the market correct if you're running a monopoly? Who's going to do the correcting?
Well, I think consumers usually decide, especially now.
You're not listening to me, Matt. It's a monopoly. The consumers can't decide if they want water or not.
And I totally agree. I'm talking in broad economic strokes. This wasn't the point I wanted to make. Okay. I totally agree with you, Nick. I totally agree with you.
Let's not get hung up on that whole capitalism thing. Go ahead.
Exactly. My point, the point that I wanted to make is that, I'm not British. I'm a British citizen, but I was born and raised in South Africa. My mom is English. I was, around the culture, etc. And I think that this capitalist leadership currently and Tory austerity over the last God knows how many years has absolutely drained British pride. Absolutely. There is no sense of civic patriotism at a large scale anymore. And this is a problem with a lot of Western Europe, save the Scandinavian countries, etc. But
all the places that are HAPPY.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, all the Scandi players, the 6 foot blonde perfect people.
Top of the list. Yeah, exactly. But here in Britain particularly, there is this real struggle with this left wing woke ideology, which has made the vast majority of the country incredibly guilty about its history. And I think it's...
The woke ideology has made people guilty about their history. You mean has made people aware of their history?
Absolutely. Totally aware, but also very guilty. I don't think the culture at large knows what to do
with
British imperialism.
Who's guilty? Who feels guilty?
Well, I think the British public at large.
Yeah, no, they don't. The British public at large don't think that A, they don't think about it, and B, when it is brought to their attention, they flail around in a mad frothing fury, screaming woke. It's exactly as you just described.
Well, you think the British public are particularly proud of England right now? You think civic pride is at an all-time high? Patriotism, British patriotism is at an all-time high? I say absolutely not.
How do you define patriotism? Or measure it, even?
Well, it's the sense in the air, Nick. Austerity has...
What you mean is you're making it up. A sense in the air. You mean like Rishi Sunak? You've gone out and talked to people?
Yes, absolutely. I've talked to people.
What have people said?
You know what I'm talking about, Nick. You feel it in the air in London. You feel the sense of absolute sadness and desperation.
You're completely wrong. I get anger. I get fury. I get an itching sense that time isn't ticking along fast enough to get rid of the regime. But that is not the same as what you're saying.
I think there's a lot of rage. I mean, the British populace is not like America, for example. There's not the same level of civic, devotion as there is. And I think it comes down fundamentally to...
Where'd he go?
To austerity.
Well, you've disappeared. Come back into the light, Matt.
What's that, Nick?
We lost you there for a moment, but I think I get it. Right. Austerity. We don't wave the flag about quite as much as they do in America, where it's perfectly normal to have a flag on your house or in your front yard. And in fact, in some places, it seems weird and somewhat unpatriotic if you don't have those two things, or one or the other. So we don't do that, but we never really have done that. partly because it's the British sense of not wanting to draw attention to ourselves. So there's that a bit. And we don't have that sort of the patriotic war that they've got in America right now, which was it was always there, but it really was stirred up by the Tangerine tornado. That one side is more patriotic than the other side, and such that one side doesn't care what happens to themselves as long as it upsets the other side. But we ain't there yet. But I don't get that we've lost all hope in this country and everyone's trudging around in a mope. Not any more than we ever did before. I mean, our national phrase is "mustn't grumble," which we only utter after having grumbled constantly for at least an hour. But cheer up, Matt. It might never oh, no, that's right. It already has. Perry says, I'm now worried about all our little birdies having to avoid the abundance of flags that will be flapping in the wind on buildings. Rick texts, 14 years I've waited to hear Henry Smith mentioned in political circles, and boy, was it not worth it. Still, he might be looking for a job making flags soon. Listen to that racket. Can you hear that?
I know, it's incredible.
Good grief, the noise. Oi! Keep that noise down, kids. I think it's those hooligans at Capital Radio. I'm going to go down there and give them a piece of my mind. Or at least I would if I wasn't so frightened. But any moment now, I'll get up and do the disco dancing myself. I'll flick the lights on and off really fast. Let's have Sandbach. John.
You know what? So much goes on in your programme. I lose track of what I want to say.
Well, you lose track. Imagine what my mind's like.
Exactly. Richie Sunak, when I was a kid, if you had your trousers at that level around his ankles, somebody said to you, has somebody died? They said, no, why? Your trousers are half-mast.
Yeah. It's perpetually in mourning. Yeah.
Yeah. And the other thing about Starmer and the Labour Party and that, they've got badly advised. I mean, the advisors seem to be wanting to outdo the Conservatives and being so-called patriotic.
Yeah.
Which some writer in the 17th century said is the last vested job, bastard of scoundrels.
Yes.
And then you go from one extreme to another. I mean, Sunak, his comment was on the British citizens who were murdered in
Gaza.
Gaza. Yeah, I'm alarmed. What do you mean you're alarmed? You should be saying I'm angry and I'm spitting chips. No, I'm alarmed.
I mean, there's nothing funny about it, but spitting chips is that's a new one on me. Spitting
you ever heard that one?
Chips. No, I don't think I have. No, I like it. I'm going to be using it frequently from this moment on.
You lived in the wrong part of the country.
All right, good work. Thanks a lot, John.
Okay.
Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. Lee text, I thought hair in the gate was a term used for when you get your afro in your mouth on the tube. That is in relation to something that we heard earlier on. Leanne says, Nick and Rose, the philosopher Rupert Sheldrake, posits that there is a field of consciousness that all living things access. That sounds very much like the Force to me. Are you talking about the Force? Leanne says, it's how birds know how to fly into trees without crashing, and bikers can undertake you on roundabouts. Isn't nature wonderful? Well, it's surprising every now and again. Keith texts, I'm tired of all this political correction. I was at a National Trust property yesterday and they were demonstrating a kestrel, a sparrowhawk, and a bald eagle on the lawn. It was unfair how the superiority of the kestrel beat the other two birds. I'm tired of these vulture wars. This has to stop. The woke National Trust is ruining this once proud name. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
If only I'd known at the beginning, I wouldn't have wasted the 60 seconds it took to get through that. Never mind. You live and learn. Or, in my case, live.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Here are the studio calls flashing up on the indicator.
Yes, which shall we have first? Who's been waiting the longest? I'll be totally fair about this. It looks like East Yorkshire to me. Hello, Mike.
Hi, Nick, yeah. I'll explain the scientific thing about birds and trees later if we've got time, but politics is more interesting.
Okay.
Couple of bits that you've been saying. You keep saying, why do 20% of people still vote Tory in spite of everything that's happened? How does that not get you there? There's a good scientific reason for this, and that is, quite simply, 10 to 15% of the population will be better off with Tory policies. So they will always vote Tory because it's in their own interest. The next group down, about the next 20%, so we're looking at like 70 to 85% of the top earners, if they're short-termists, they don't often get ill, don't care about health service. They live in rich areas, so the state schools are pretty good, or they send the kids to private school. The parents are either dead or well, so they don't use social care. So in the short term, they'll go, I want low taxes. Tories equal low taxes. I'll vote Tory. It's short-termism. It's not sensible, but a certain percentage of them will always vote Tory.
Yes, if you had said this to me 14 years ago, I would understand and I would agree. But having had 14 years of Conservative government, and we are now being taxed more than we ever have been, you'd think that equation would have been broken in the minds of the perpetually gullible. But it appears that it just ain't so.
But the Tories are the only ones, other than Deform, who are saying they're going to lower taxes. So they're still obsessed with lowering taxes.
Yeah, but you don't get credit for putting out a fire you started.
I know. Anyone with half a brain can see that. But if you're totally selfish and totally obsessed about more and more and more money for yourself, you buy into it. And then you get the few percent at the bottom who you say, why do you vote Conservative? Because my granddad did and my dad did. We're Conservatives. Right. And there's a few percent you'll never change. That adds up to 20%. You'll never get any lower.
Well, I just don't buy it because, I mean, all of the evidence of your eyes, ears, nose, everything you can touch, squeeze and smell suggests that everything that the Tories used to stand for is not what they are anymore. I don't know who they are or what they stand for other than monetising their own position. That seems... they seem to be particularly good at that. But everything else is... I mean, they're not the party of law and order. They're not the party of the defence. They're not the party of business. Bleep business, he said. Do you remember?
Yeah. Wait a minute.
They're not the party of low taxation. They're not the party of the NHS. Who are they? Why are people still, to such a large extent, determined to vote for them, despite the fact that they have not done well over the last 14 years? Almost nobody has. Just a tiny, tiny percentage of the very, very highest earners who will always do well, regardless of how much tax is levied on the rest of us poor dopes who can't employ vast buildings of lawyers and accountants to manage our affairs. Even people who are earning big six-figure salaries are being screwed over. It's only the millionaires and the billionaires, those are the ones that are doing okay. But there's very few of them.
Yeah, I'll run with that, Nick. Okay, but take a step back politically on this. Imagine a pair of scales. On one side, you've got reality, and each year, another little layer is added to reality. Look at the other side of the scales, and you have got political and psychological sleight of hand. And political and psychological sleight of hand works with a lot of people in the short term.
Yeah, but we haven't dealing with the short term. We've had 14 years. That ain't short.
I know, but that's 14 years of reality. That's why the Tories are screwed. It doesn't matter what they do. If we got a mine found in the Pennines now that produced a fantastic amount of money and the country was going to be wonderfully rich, it would not help the Tories. for the simple reason that reality in people's minds is now stacked up to such an extent that all the political and psychological garbage sleight of hand, which is where the flags come in, because this is political and psychological sleight of hand, doesn't count anymore because people just go, nah, reality's huge. What's all that other stuff? So it won't work. It doesn't matter what happens in the UK. The Conservatives now are doomed.
I wonder for how long, though, because the very second that Labour, assuming that that's what happens at the next general election, also assuming that we're allowed to have one, and it's not cancelled for our safety, then the moment that they get their knees under the table, the entire British press and the Tory party and whatever hangers-on they get from Reform or whoever it might be are all going to be blaming Labour for everything that is wrong with the country. And there's just enough people over the course of 5 years during which the Labour Party will not be able to turn anything around, really, because there's just not enough time. There's just enough people who will believe that. And they'll cling to that old notion of, well, the Conservative Party is the party of low taxes, and forget everything that we've just been through for 14 years. So I reckon the Labour Party may have one term. One.
Possibly, yeah. The only thing is that if Reform do take enough votes from the Tories, and the Tories do end up with under 100 seats, the disruption between the Conservatives and Reform may get the Labour Party another term, maybe in 10 years, just do some good. Can I just come back on the birds thing and the trees there, Nick?
Yeah, but on that last topic, it would be about blooming time for the right wing to have their vote split so that the left can just nimbly step over them and take the tape, because that's been the left's problem for as long as I can remember. They split the vote, they fight amongst themselves, and then the Tories just walk it again.
Or 2 terms of Labour might just see PR introduced, maybe. That's the right wing, wouldn't it?
I seriously doubt it, because it would take the people that are in power to give up some of their power, and that I just can't see it happening.
No, but if the Labour Party got a 200-seat majority this time and then clung on in the next election, maybe down to 20 or 30 majority, do you not think they might figure that, the way things are going, PR would actually suit us? Possibly.
No, I just can't see it, because they would always have in mind that they want 100% of the power. And I just can't imagine anybody giving up that possibility.
Maybe, but we might get a better quality of politicians.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what would be required. We would need a group of politicians who are actually interested in what's best for the country rather than what is best for them personally. And I just can't see it.
The trend isn't going that way, is it?
Not really, no.
Can I just do the birds bit in the trees?
Yes.
Right. The reason that birds can fly through trees is that they have zoom vision, or at least the ones that need to fly through trees, like pigeons and crows and birds of prey, who need to navigate trees, have zoom vision. Now, when you look at a tree, what you basically see is a silhouette. So it's like 2D. If you've got zoom vision and you can look into the tree in detail, you can see that you've got 3 branches that appear impenetrable. With zoom vision, you realise that the 2 outside branches are nearer to you. The 3rd branch is 15, 20, 30 feet further away, so you can fly between the first 2 and then avoid the 3rd one. It's the fact they can zoom in and out that means that they've got much better sense of depth. Therefore, they can figure that they can fly straight out a branch and then avoid it. And that is why the birds that need to fly through trees can fly through trees.
Wow. Well, you just blown my mind. Who's zooming who? Get Aretha Franklin on the phone right now and she'll sing everything that you've just said. All right, thanks a lot, Mike. Educational, this show, no?
No.
0345 6060 973. Josie texts, my mum used to say for 2 simple words as common sense that they are not common at all and there's surprisingly little of it about. Dan says, did you hear that the Republicans, spelt way wrong, made a motion to rename Dulles Airport, Trump International Airport. Yeah. Not to be outdone, the Democrats have now moved the motion to rename Florida's prison the Donald J. Trump Correctional Institution.
Oh, shut up!
He should be so in jail. Sue says, given the Tories have obviously been inspired by Monty Python, we've had common sense and now flags, but when do you think we'll get our Ministry of Silly Walks, and who do you think should head up that department? Well...
You're better informed than I am. I don't know anything.
Yeah, I think that he would be a shoo-in, wouldn't he? That's my view.
My view?
And his view. He's got the Ministry of Silly Walks written all over him. Rebecca says, the other day I was sitting waiting in a 4-hour traffic light... not 4 hour, 4-way. The other day I was sitting waiting in a 4-way traffic light system.
Oh, no.
Oh, God. And it just goes on and on and on. I can't stand it. Rebecca says, I thought about you eating a sandwich. I actually managed to eat a 3-course meal. Well, to be clear, I have not eaten a sandwich while I've been waiting for the 4-way traffic light system to turn green. But you could enjoy a 3-course meal, most certainly, yeah. Maybe one of those pre-theatre quick meals, because, you don't wait at a 4-way, even at a 4-way traffic light system, you don't wait there at a red light for more than about, 3-4 hours? And John says, it's funny we allegedly walked on the moon 50-odd years ago, but we can't do it now. Uh-oh.
Warning.
Conspiracy theory alert.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
No. By the way, this show and the Saturday night one as well gets stuck up the internet as a podcast. If you have one of those stupid smart speakers, then the magic phrase is play Nick Abbott the whole show podcast. It's on Global Player. It's exclusive to Global Player. If you haven't got it, then it's free. Get it from your App Store or globalplayer.com. But Nick Abbott the whole show podcast is a way to listen to the Friday and Saturday night shows anytime you like, and without the news, and we take the most of the ads out, mostly, which means it takes less time to listen to, which means that you'll use less electricity, which will give you more money to add to your flag collection. You can never have too many of them. How can you listen to this and not feel patriotic? Talk about stirring. Ranjit texts, pita bread is a very thin bread which you would normally have a kebab in. You are confusing it with naan bread. Pita is very light. No, Ranjit, incorrect. It is heavy and dense. I mean, it's okay if you put salad in pita bread. A little bit of meat, perhaps. Poor cow. But not chips. That would just create a giant wad of dough in your stomach, this sort of brick of heavy blech. No. It's a no from me. Maidstone, hello, Rob.
Hello, Nick. Isn't it nice that things are getting back to normal?
I think it's nice that things are nice, don't you?
Oh, I do. I think we've got flag shaggers to the rest of us, and we've got a proper old-fashioned Tory sex scandal to the right of us.
Hooray!
Yes, it's Willy Waggling Wag. This is not only been so silly that he sent out photos of his own bits, but he then shared the phone numbers of other sitting MPs.
Right.
And I think all these Tories get mad about stuff. I don't care that he's the vice chair of the 1922 committee. I do object to the fact he still has a job.
Yes.
He should be booted out because he put other people at risk.
Well, they're not.
I don't care about his oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, but they're not going to boot him out for obvious reasons. It's because they would lose the by-election that ensues.
Well, he's already stepping down at the next election.
Yeah, that ain't quick enough.
I mean, I think it would be great fun to see how his local constituency party reacts to his present behaviour.
Yeah, poorly, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I'd have hoped that our Minister for Common Sense would have gone, oh, he broke all the rules. He broke the code. He should be gone.
What is the common sense response to this? Esther, get Esther on the phone. She knows all about common sense.
You know what she'll say?
She's an expert.
Yeah, she'll say, oh, but he apologised.
Yeah, that's right. He said he was very, very sorry.
I am very sorry that I screwed up.
Totally screwed up.
I mean, I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's sorry. Yeah.
But I also saw that then Luke Evans got involved in this scandal. And I was just thinking, I loved his last album.
Which was that?
No, don't you know Luke Evans? He was a Gaston in Beauty and the Beast.
He was a what?
Oh, you don't know, do you? It's a pun.
Who's Luke Evans? No.
He's the GP who's the Tory MP, but he's also a Welsh singer.
Is that right? Well, news to me. The stuff you learn on this show. All right, good work. Thanks a lot, Rob. Way over my head. Whoosh. Gone. I mean, the stuff you hear and see. And they call him, this rag chap, they call him baby-faced. Baby-faced. I mean, no offence, but if your baby had a face like that, you'd be making the first appointment to a GP. You'd be calling up an adoption agency. Robin says, when I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, we were rubbish at sport and a bit embarrassed by anyone waving flags. As I recall, we were a lot happier, says Robin. No. You mean you were happier when you were younger and your knees still worked, Robin. You forget all the miserable bits and just remember the good parts. So let's try to maximise our good parts. Not that.
Disgusting.
No. You know, oh, never mind. You take everything and you just twist it and shove it straight in the gutter. Awful. Bodmin. Hello, Malcolm.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Malcolm.
Hey, I'd like to invoke Samuel Johnson at this point of proceedings and state that Patriotism is the last home of the scoundrel.
Right. Samuel L. Jackson said that. Is that what you're saying?
But all this flag waving stuff that you speak of, and it's and the last bit about 3 phone callers to the show, and he was saying that the people of Britain just aren't patriotic enough, or words to that effect. Well, the point is, I think the British public are saying, I'm not going near the British flag because it has been so devalued and pooped upon by the government we've got.
Oh, could you use a different phrase? Pooped upon.
I just will not be associated to the flag, which has been sort of seized by the British government. Besmirched.
Right.
So horribly by the government. And for me, the disappointing thing is, but it's out of a necessity. The fact that Labour now and Keir Starmer has always got flags behind him wherever he is, but he has to do it because there is a section of the population whose votes he does want, i.e. the Tory leaning vote, who do attach value to the Union Jack.
Yeah, then there's also the mouth-breathing moron community who count the number of flags and then determine who is the most patriotic depending on the number.
But that's a different constituency of the British public. Isn't it? So I just think that caller is slightly off the mark when he says the British people aren't patriotic enough. I think that the British people are among the most patriotic.
Oh, come off it, Malcolm! I can't believe you just said that. The most patriotic people in the world. Were you going to say that?
No, listen to me. No, listen. They are the most patriotic people in the world from this point of view. I'll bet you, if you got any Briton in a room, they would say that there's honestly no other place I'd rather live in the world. That's one measure, right? The second measure is...
Well, not really. Not really. It depends on... No, but all right, go on. Give me all of your measures, and I'll tell you whether you're right or wrong. Wrong.
Well, we moan about the climate, but we still live here.
Yeah, well, that's got nothing to do with patriotism. That's nothing. We can't do anything about that.
look, we live through Labour, we live through the Tories, we live through Labour, we live through the Tories, because we know we will live through each of them every 5 years. It's a system that we can live with. And by patriotism, I don't mean flag waving. That's the point I'm making, Nick. I'm making the opposite point. I think the British people are proud to be British because they know they're British and they don't have to shout it from the rooftops, like maybe America does, as some people have said, like the Tories would have us believe. Because the Tories, I think, are saying to us, come on, you have to support us because we are hiding behind the British flag. Therefore, you must like us. But what I say is, I dislike the Tories because they hide behind the British flag. So I think it's more of a patriotic thing to take my viewpoint on what Britain is and how Britons should feel, and what the Tories try to tell us what you should be to prove you are British.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
What? Yeah, but does that make me unpatriotic if I disagree with what you just said?
Well, it might make you a Tory, which would make someone I wouldn't be. Yeah. But, yeah, I just think this whole patriotism thing is just,
it's a game, and it's just it's a silly game, but people seem to be willing to get obsessed about it.
No, they can't stop themselves maybe being sucked into it, Nick. But that's the whole premise of my phone call. It's simply to say that you don't have to wave your British flag to be a British person. Just be a British person and, keep calm, carry on.
Yeah.
As we always have.
All right. Okay, leave that with me. Thanks a lot, Malcolm. I'll keep calm and carry on. Yeah, it's just it's just nonsense. And this idea that if you complain loudly about someone changing the colours on our flag, that makes you patriotic is just ludicrous. It seems quite clear to me that the people that are running the country are not running the country for the benefit of the people. The people who are running the country are running the country for the benefit of the people who are running the country. Ain't that right, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
Can't comment on that. Yeah. I mean, what more evidence do you need? And that's the opposite of patriotism. Not caring what happens to the country, just as long as you do okay. See Brexit for full details.
Brexit's going great.
Yeah, sure it is. Sure it is. Sylvia texts. Well, what does Sylvia's mother say? That's what I want to know. Sylvia texts, as a kid, I'd steal from bank playing Monopoly. Is this how the government works? This government works that way, yeah. Nige says, Rishi Sunak said after the cancellation of HS2 that the money would be spent on potholes. So maybe £8.3 billion just isn't enough money to do them all. So for 250,000 miles of roads in the UK, that's £33,200 per mile. I think I'm going to invest in tarmac, says Nige. Well, somebody should start using it, for crying out loud, because the state of the roads was abysmal this time last week. But in the intervening period, they've got 10 times worse. I couldn't believe it coming in. Roads that I normally didn't have to memorise where the holes are suddenly have holes everywhere. It's as though somebody's deliberately chewed the roads up in the last 5 days since I did this trip last. Very, very weird. I mean, I would have understood it if it had rained and then frozen, because that's what one of the major reasons that creates holes. What I've also noticed is that does the paint that they use to demarcate the lanes, does that actually ruin the tarmac beneath it? Because it seems that there's a lot of damage where the lines are. Now, if it's just one lane in either direction, you would think that that would be the area of the road that gets the least amount of traffic. Unless it's very, very narrow, in which case the cars going either way, one would hit it with their right-hand side and the one coming the other direction would hit it with their right-hand side. So only under that circumstance would the middle of the road be the most used part. But usually it's the least used part. You sit in the middle of the lane. So how come it seems like the paint that they use to paint the line down the middle of the road is actually ruining the road? I've never heard anybody say that out loud. Am I hallucinating or is this real life?
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Come on, we're running late.
0345 6060 973. Islington, Simon.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I went to Folkestone. You know, it's really nice.
Oh, yes.
It's really nice.
You went to Folkestone because I said it was really nice, and when you went there, you found it was really nice.
Yeah, it's really quaint.
It is really quaint, yes. And what it doesn't have is any of those, like Kiss Me Quick
no, it doesn't have
establishments or any of those hanging penny drop things,
No,
whatever
I like
they're
them
called.
anyway. They got the one of them inflatable things on the beach outside the shop.
They do?
And inflatable dolphins and...
In Folkestone?
No, they don't have them in
No,
there.
they don't have them. That's
But I
right.
like
Yes,
it.
it's a seaside resort for grown-ups.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
And then excellent places to eat. Was the Harbour Arm open when you went?
No, I was just whizzing through about 40 miles an hour.
You're joking? You didn't even stop?
No, I should have been going 30, but I was in a hurry.
Right, to get somewhere else. I understand. All right, thanks a lot, Simon, for whatever that was. Yeah, it's a good long while since I went to Folkestone, but, you know, you really need the weather because you want to sit out in the Harbour Arm there and have a beverage, you know, something to drink.
Booze.
And enjoy the excellent food outlets there. There's loads of them. Yeah, I miss it already. God, when's it going to get nice? I mean, I know I did the weather at the top of the show, but this is getting really depressing. It's like, how long do we have to wait before we'll get any kind of summer here, crying out loud? Well, tomorrow it's going to be 20 degrees, but that ain't no good because there's also going to be 40-mile-an-hour winds and raining. So it doesn't matter what the temperature's like. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
0345 6060 973. Let's have Willesden Green. Hello, Nick.
Hello. I was hoping to speak to you about the Right Honourable Willy Ragg.
Yes.
Why isn't there a bigger outrage? Because he's like, am I the only person that's seeing like a security risk in what he's done?
A little bit, yeah. Tiny bit of a security risk. Mm-hmm.
You give out your friends' mobile phone numbers, and it's not like the old days where, oh no, the line is engaged, I can't call them. It's like, why don't you send a message like, hey mate, I've been caught with my trousers down. I've given your number to these blackmailers.
Yeah.
Be warned, if anyone asks you for a certain type of pic, you might be caught in the... So not only did he not alert these guys,
yes.
You've got like people like Dr. Luke Evans and whoever that like, oh, me, I saw through it, or I've got my honour intact and I didn't get seduced by these grinder guys. But what about the silent minority or majority that might have been duped? Like, I can't... Like, for me, first and foremost, the Right Honourable Willy Ragg, why isn't he out of a job? Because he's a security risk and he's compromised potentially the country with regards to God knows how many MPs are in the pockets of these grinder blackmailers. Like, where's the outrage? I'm like, am I the only one that's seeing it with like...
Yeah, I think so, yeah. You're the only one that's really concentrating on it to this extent, yeah. I don't think... I mean, at this point... No one is really surprised about anything anymore. I mean, now we just sort of shrug and think, oh well, what else have you got? What's the next outrage? What can they distract us with next? Because I think they've done the flag thing to death. I mean, there's only so many times you can get angry about changing the colour on a flag. But particularly as you were being directed to be angry by people who have done that very thing for money, essentially. They've changed our flag to all blue have the Tory party, the same party that is complaining about other people changing the colour of our flag. And it was so tenuous and so thin an argument that they moved on within a week to yelling at the National Trust about about vegan scones, until the Minister for Common Sense brought the flag thing back. And of course the Olympics is coming up this year. It's going to be such a summer of sports, all of which will have some form of the Union Jack on their kit. Our boys in the Euros and absolutely everybody at the Olympics, they're going to have some sort of change of the flag, because that's just how it works. All teams do that. It's not supposed to be controversial. It's just supposed to be, an artistic design, for crying out loud. And so we're going to get a whole summer of that, and people are going to be fulminating, but with ever-decreasing results, I think. I mean, there's only so much anger in people that can be expelled when we're talking about a flag. So what are they going to do next? Where are they going to go next? I mean, what is the next outrage? I'm keen to find out, aren't you? Because that scones thing was just plain, flat-out silly. I mean, nobody really bought into that. You could see people trying to get angry about it, but failing. Even newspaper columnists who were trying to whip up some confected outrage about vegan scones, the recipe for which was actually printed in the newspaper that was complaining that they had never heard of vegan scones. They actually printed the recipe from the National Trust years earlier. The people who write the paper obviously don't read their own organ. So what's it going to be next? I'm curious. Tooting. Hello, Jan.
Hi, Nick. Hi, good evening. Yeah, this is a good time to bring in my point, because you're talking about what will the next outrage be, or what, are there any more terrible surprises in store for us all? But what I was ringing about was this thing about. I was going to also ask you: has it ever happened before that the civil servants who are expected to, oversee the export of arms to the Gaza, they want to take the government to court for trying to force them into doing something which is against international and domestic law, and the whole thing about. So I mean, it's has it ever happened before? I don't think it's ever happened before. I don't think civil servants are there to serve. They're not supposed to.
Right.
But I guess they've never perhaps been in a position where they're being. I mean, they're reviewing. They're still under review. They're pussyfooting about Gaza and Israel and its the genocide or the humanitarian breaking humanitarian law and breaching international law. They're doing another review. I mean, the legal heads of this country and everything. They're still not sure whether Israel's. They haven't outrightly said. They're pussyfooting about it. That Israel's
I know.
Humanitarian law.
Absolutely. Is there anything else?
No, it's just that the civil servants, the ones who are doing this, they want to take the government to court.
Yeah, I heard that. Yeah.
Through their trade union and because they don't want to be forced into doing something illegal.
Right.
Isn't that extraordinary? I don't think that's ever happened before.
Well, there's a lot of things that have never happened before.
Absolutely.
Like she being one of them, for instance.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
We get run by a great big greedy nincompoop, for instance. We've got people like this fella who was the chief in charge of looking for Brexit benefits.
My view.
And couldn't find any. We got this guy.
I think this is nonsense.
Doing a long piece to camera as he's walking along, like he's auditioning for a job on The One Show. And it just on and on. There's firsts everywhere you look, Jan.
Yeah, well, let's hope there's not, or repeats.
No, I think that we appear to be on permanent repeat. Every day's like Groundhog Day. It's just the same thing over and over and over with...
This government.
Exactly. Thanks a lot, Jan. Cheers, my dear. 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 Cheers, my dear.